Welcome back, everybody. We are here for Silver Oh god, it's goodness me. Season 8, I think it is. Goodness me, I can't remember. But we're back for action here after a sabbatical then, 2 weeks off after the Mexican and USA Grand Prix. And now looking to get ourselves back underway then for league racing action here in Singapore for Silver round 18 of the 24-round season. We are drawing to a close then. It is getting to the colder months and I need to hibernate for a bit. But we will firstly get the racing done and dusted out of the way before I hibernate, but there we go, as plotters then, and we've got somebody else out there on track as well in the racing ball, but we'll come to that then. This is the Singapore Grand Prix. If you are unfamiliar with it, of course, Gold raced around here last night. It was a fantastic race indeed, if I do say so myself, because somehow I got points, but there we go. And looking forward to seeing how Silver is going to develop here tonight then as well. Then looking forward to an exciting Grand Prix. First, we have 16 minutes to set the grid then for this fantastic event. And we have got Vanquish, who is first out on the track. Then we'll have a ride on board then with the racing ball then as we go through turns 1, 2 and 3 in quick succession then to start off the first flying lap then of the session as well then. Good stuff indeed. Welcome then. Astra John has said good evening all then. Good evening to yourself, sir. He was reserving, I think, in place of Mumford, who unfortunately hasn't woken up then, but there we go then. And Gordo has said hola and good luck all then in the Aston Martin, of course, then is Gordo, and looking to see how he can get himself into another podium place potentially here tonight then. But of course he's been on a run of podiums, has Gordo, before the break then. Of course the 2-week break has sort of interrupted the flow of the season then, which is very unfortunate. Unfortunately we had to get themselves sorted then with Gold then having to get themselves a bit of a break then with the clashes then with the IRL calendar there, but thankfully I think we're all sorted now with that then, and it is out of the way then to the end of the season. Then we're on a final stretch then, 7 races to go including this one, and we will get ourselves to that final race, that final checkered flag then through into sector 3 then. Goodness me, Vanquish losing the back end then as we go through then for the racing ball. And Gordo has said, I've just forgot to put my setup on. Oh dear. Well, that's problematic then for Gordo, because unfortunately, unless there's a lobby restart, you will be, oh dear, as unfortunately for Vanquish, then he's clouted the wall then, and is back into the pit lane. Then where is Plotters? Up to the line then. Plotters then at 26.8 then to set ourselves underway, and that is pretty good stuff indeed then from the Red Bull driver. Then good stuff to start us off here in qualifying. Then Kamara races done at 27.2, then puts himself P2 for the time being, but of course only 2 drivers have set a time so far. Then here comes Kamara's teammate Reflection, flicking it through the final couple of corners and across the line. A 28.6 then for Reflection then on his first outing after the break as well. Good stuff indeed. Then Vessia 28.3 into P3 then for the Ferrari. Then we're going to have Alpine up into P3 then 28.2. Here comes Kaidel then 28.4 for Kaidel, puts himself P5 as it stands on the in the grid, on the order I should say. Then goodness me, as Mags has jumped up to a 27.3 then onto the second row of the grid I should say then for the Haas. Casey Dennett's done 27.9 then puts himself P8 then the slowest of the time runners so far, but only 8 drivers have set a time. No, we'll scratch that. There's 9 drivers in because Nigel's on a 27.8 goodness me. Kiki's on a 27.5 goodness me. I think Nigel's having a bit of a problem then with his internets, but there we go. Kiki then up into P4 then 27.5 for Kiki, of course a former pole sitter then in Silver, of course in the previous 3 rounds that is, but of course it seems a far long way away as Beast then has reclaimed his familiar top spot then with a 26.249 then, and that is fantastic stuff indeed from Beast, who of course is looking to crown himself a champion then of Silver this season. Of course he's still got a few races to go then. I think mathematically, well, it depends if Mumford turns up like he hasn't tonight then, but unfortunately for Mumford he is going to be handing Beast the championship as it stands, because Beast is looking pretty formidable out then. He is, what is that, almost 7/10 faster than Plotters in P2. Fantastic stuff indeed. Good times tumbling in then around the order. Then here comes Gordo without his setup on then. R2 Beat then coming through into the old Singapore Sling, which is no longer a Singapore Sling because they had to get rid of it because it was too dangerous. There we go. Then Astrodron then starting off on a lap as well. Then we'll go on board with Gordo then, because Gordo is coming through into, oh no he's not, where is he? R2 Beat, sorry, is coming through into sector 3. Any points will do now. Says, never mind, it's on. Apologies. False alarm, says Gordo. Never mind, it's on. So that's all good. Right then, Gordo can crack on then with his qualifying. Uninhibited then with his setup issues, because he doesn't have any now. And here comes R2 then into the final couple of corners then to finish off the lap. Then the first lap then for the Ferrari driver then after the break. And let's see what it's going to be then for R2 Beat, then flicking it around the final couple of corners up to the line. It's P9 with the 28.113 into the top 10 as it stands then as well. Good stuff indeed then. Of course, a bit of race rustiness then might unfold then after a few weeks off in this league racing scene. But we'll have to wait and see then how the driver's going to fare then around Singapore. Not a very easy circuit to negotiate around, let's just put it that way. Here comes Gordo then round the final couple of corners as well. Then here he comes then up to P6, then 27.7 then for Gordo with the setup on this time. And that is working very nicely indeed then onto the third row of the grid as it stands at the moment. Brilliant stuff. Right, then we've got 10 minutes left of the qualifying session. Kaidel, they're coming down into Sector 3. He's gone purple in Sector 2. And that is looking pretty good indeed. And I think he was improving by 0.4 of a second. Then they'll put him ahead of Vessia, sorry, and potentially into the top 10. We'll have to wait and see. Then hopefully Kaidel can turn his season around then from this point onwards as Jay Hings then flying through into Sector 2. Then looking to get himself a first time on the board then for the Aston Martin outfit. And we'll see what he can do then later on in the lap. Then fast stuck in the pits, then Vanquish back out on the track. Then of course Vanquish was the first man out on circuit, but unfortunately had to come in back into the pits and abandon his flying lap there. He is now heading through into Sector 2 as well. Then we'll come back to him then. Where is Kaidel? Kaidel was finished a lap then. I'm not sure he improved much in the final sector. Then he's only gained a 10th of a second on his previous time then, and not enough to displace Vessia down the order. We've got Astrotron flying through. Then here comes Jay Hings then through the final few corners, and let's see what Jay Hings' first time on the board is going to be here tonight then as we fly through the penultimate corner. A bit of I'm not quite sure that's lag, but it's 27.3, puts himself onto the second row. P4 for Jay Hings, looking good indeed out there in the Aston Martin, and I'm already losing my breath because I'm only halfway through qualifying, let alone the race. And fantastic stuff indeed so far, so good. Evening and good luck then, says Mushroom in the comment section as well. Then good luck then to all drivers then who are taking part tonight. Then Gordo just getting out of the way, I think, of cars flying through. And there we go then, coming back to the pit lane now. Casey Dennett has improved to P12 then, a 28.2 for him. Kaido then down to P15 then. Vanquish then, oh no, where's Vanquish? Yes, he has set a 28.7 then, I think. I'm not quite sure that's his best competitive time then, but we'll have to wait and see. Astrotron's done 29.8 then for his first time on the board, then looking to improve on that then on his next occasion. Irvine on to track then, but unfortunately Irvine has forgot to turn his ERS on then, so we'll come back to him later on as Plotter's then going through in towards Sector 2 then, unfortunately not improving in Sector 1 then, so he's going to have to find quite a lot of time then to try and rival Beast for that pole position then in the next two sectors. We'll have to wait and see. Lots of yellow flags out there, lots of traffic out on there as well then, to be fair. Lots of activity on the circuit here in qualifying tonight then. Kamara Racer flying through over the Anderson Bridge then into the hairpin then and on to Raffles Boulevard as well. Yes, good stuff indeed. So far, so good then. Oh dear, oh god, I thought that was Jay Hings on a lap then, but he has not got, he's not used that much ERS then, but potentially going to go again here for the Aston Martin. No, not quite. No, he's coming back into the pit lane, and good stuff indeed. Mr. Elite then, I think was, not sure what he was doing there, was Mr. Elite, but he seemed to be struggling to get himself either on a lap or out of the way of cars coming through. I think we've got Nigel then just starting off a lap then as well then for the Kick Sauber automobiles. Hopefully, let me just double check that the PSN audio or PlayStation audio is coming through. It is. That's fantastic. So that's good stuff indeed. Nigel then back out on his second attempt then. It seems to be a lot of jumping around then, but I think that's just from the spectator's point of view then, rather than the actual track activity. Then Nigel then almost losing the back end, going through turn 4 and 5 then, heading through Sector 2 now as well. Then comes the Kick Sauber. Then there's all sorts of traffic on the circuit then, and I think they need to just clue themselves up to what's going on around them as well then, because it could get a bit dicey indeed then if there's people on the circuit that don't want to be. Oh dear, and Nigel then has had a bit of a problem then and invalidated his time, and that's him done and dusted, unfortunately. We've got Mr. Elite right behind us, though. Mr. Elite coming through into Sector 2, into the hairpin now as well, then powering down the next DRS straight, trying to get a tow then, looks like, oh dear, from the Kick Sauber. He's just got himself out of the way, and now into sector 3 then. Mr. Elite, sorry, is only a 14,000 of a second up on his previous time. Then that would not gain him any places. Then he has dropped out of the top 10 just about. Then as here comes Mr. Elite then down the new straight then, or the newest straight then of the circuit. Of course, it did turn right there somewhere earlier on, and then head under the grandstand, didn't it? And before coming back under this part of the circuit, but we've got rid of that now, and up to the line then. Mr. Elite then has not improved. Sorry, he stays P11 then. Unfortunately, on that run then, so he stays P11 for the time being. Then SG Tory then, who has joined us in the last few weeks. Had a good debut then in the gold race last night then, looking to see what he can do then here in silver tonight as well then, as we fly through the rest of qualifying. 6.5 minutes left then. Plotters has improved then by a tenth of a second, then he puts himself on to 26.7 then for the time being, but it's still unfortunately half a second away from current pole sitter Ultimate Beast then, who is looking pretty ultimate out there tonight then. Kiki then has improved to P3 and is looking pretty good indeed to put on another masterclass then for Mercedes then. Of course, we've been seeing quite a few fantastic qualifying, fantastic races as well then in the first 17 rounds of the season then from Mercedes, and looking like they're going to try and repeat the feat here tonight as well then. Mags coming through into sector 2 as well then, through the hairpin now as well then, looking to get that power down as quickly as possible then, but not losing the back end very nicely indeed. Very well done indeed, I should say. He is 4.5 tenths up on his previous time. Beast has retired in the pit lane. He is happy with his time, and he is maybe trying to save a set of tyres then for the race itself then. That is pretty good stuff indeed from Beast then. He's comfortable. He thinks he's comfortable in that pole position then. Here comes Mags then into the final few corners, and let's see what Mags can do then in the final attempt here. Oh, not his final attempt hopefully, but we'll have to wait and see then in this final attempt then for this corner as we go up to P3 at 26.8 then for Mags. Puts himself onto the second row of the grid then, improving by 3 places as well then, and displacing Kiki down to P4 as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed from Mags then, looking good indeed then on this qualifying so far. Tory then is through into sector 3. And Vessia then had a bit of a problem then at the first couple of turns, but here comes the Red Bull driver then, heading into the final couple of corners now for the for Tory, I should say then, and heading into the final corner then, flicking it in. Well, it's technically 2 corners, but I'm going to count it as 1 because you're just turning all at 1 round. And P7 for Tory then, up into a 27.4 then, a good improvement then, puts himself into contention then with his teammate as well, looking very strong for Red Bull in this moment as well then. P2 and P7 as it stands, and that is not looking too shabby then for Red Bull at the moment as well then. Good stuff indeed. Then here comes R2B then into sector 2 then. He's 2.5 tenths up on his previous time. That would put him into the top 10, I would imagine then, at this current point of the qualifying. There's still 4 minutes left of the session though, so we'll have to wait and see then if there's going to be any more improvements then further along. Vanquish then has just pulled out of the way then. I think he's abandoned his time once again, and unfortunately for Vanquish, struggling out there then in this qualifying session. Hopefully he can turn it around then for the Grand Prix itself. Reflection then, that's my qualifying race rustiness, as here comes Kaido then, I think starting off a lap now for the McLaren and looking to improve then on P15 currently then. Here comes R2B then. R2B heading into sector 3 then. He's now 3 tenths up on his previous time then. That would put him into a 27.8 region, and that would put him into the top 10 region as well, with Nigel then currently on a 27.8 as it stands then for the kick Sauber. Then here comes the Ferrari then, heading into the last chicane and negotiating it nicely enough then. Here he comes up to the line then. Let's see what improvement it's going to be then for the Ferrari then, having across the line then, crossing the line to P8 then, a 27.7 then, puts himself ahead of both Nigel and Gordo and Sweet MJP then. Very nicely done indeed then from R2E. 3 minutes left of the session then. Can he get himself back in time then to go once again then for the final attempt here with qualifying? Kamara then is back out on track as well then, going through into sector 2. We'll come back to him then, because I think we've got Kaido then coming through the Singapore, or the previous Singapore sling, but Reflection up into P13, a 27.9 for him. Puts himself P13, almost a 7/10 improvement then for Reflection then. That's fantastic. And brilliant stuff indeed then from the Williams driver then. Good stuff from Reflection. And here comes Kaido then, 2.5 tenths up on his previous time. Then that will put him into P15 as it stands there. But can he improve even more then through sector 3? Then we'll find out now. Yellow flags being waved in sector 1, but I'm not quite sure what. For what? Who's for what? But there we go then, heading through into the final couple of corners now for Kaido then. I think this is going to be his last attempt in qualifying. He's not got time to go again then. Up to P11 then with 27.8 then for Kaido, just outside the top 10 by only, what is that then, 12,000 of a second as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed from Kaido then, looking strong here as it stands then. Nigel then back out on a lap as well then. They'll come back to him then. Where is the next driver to cross the line? It's a Ferrari, I think, of R2B. Is it? Yes, but unfortunately I'm not then, because I think R2B is coming back to the pit lane here. And, oh dear. That is a very odd pit. Oh, goodness me. That is dangerous, let's just say that. If you try and do that in the race, then I'm pretty sure that's going to end with your, well, your race over, pretty much. Plotter's then just about to start off another lap then. Where is the Alpine of Astra John then? Where is Astra John then? Here he is then, coming down towards the final chicane now. He's 1.1 seconds up on his previous time, and that would put him into the range then with Vanquish, and potentially with, oh dear, as Farf has retired in the pit lane. He's not been able to get himself out of the box then, has Farf then. Here it comes, Astra John then, P16, sorry, with a 28-1, and puts himself then ahead of Casey Jennett then, as it stands here in this one so far then. Oh, goodness me. You can tell I haven't been... I can't even say it. You can tell I haven't been commentating for too long. And, yes, right, 1.5 minutes, or 1 minute and 20 seconds left of the qualifying session. Now, if you're not on an outlap, then if you're still in the pits, unfortunately, that is it. Done and dusted then. Right, then, where is the McLaren of Kydell, then? I think it is. Kydell then coming through the final couple of corners then. I think he might be going again then, is Kydell. But unfortunately, he hasn't validated his time, and it looks like, so unfortunately can't go again then in this session. Then P12 then at best then for Kydell. Unfortunately for him then, let's have a look and see what's next across the line. Who's next across the line, I should say then, as we go for Kamara Race then, who's starting off a lap then. Max is just starting off a lap as well. Then 44 seconds left in this qualifying session to get your laps underway. Then Jay Hings is, oh dear, oh there's a McLaren. Oh my goodness me. What is going on there? Right, I thought oh dear, yes, okay. Right then, I'm not quite sure what is happening here. Right then, here comes Plotters. Plotters round the final couple of corners and improves to P2, then displacing Kiki back down to P3, but it's a 26.555, which is getting closer and closer then towards Ultimate Beast time then. But unfortunately, nobody is able to hold a candle to him just yet then, at this point of the qualifying, that is. But potentially we'll see that later on then. We'll see who can improve even more then, and can they displace the Beast then from pole position. Then we'll find out then in the next few seconds, as it's not Mags crossing the line. Then where is the other Haas then? It's Irvine then, and Irvine is coming round then to finish into P6, I should say, 28-0 then for the Irvine, for the Haas. And there we go then, that's his qualifying done and dusted. There's now Pete off then in the background then. I'm not quite sure what's happened then to Sweet MJP, who's improved then to a 27-3, then puts himself P7, where we've got, we just had Casey Jennett then cross the line, then stays P18, unfortunately for him then. Where is the McLaren then of Kydell? Then Kydell has not been able to start a lap, then it's played P12 for Kydell at best in this session. Then Nigel is, oh dear, Nigel was not back in the pit lane. Nigel was having a bit of a trouble getting himself back in the box. Then as is Reflection, no, it's Kamara Racer, and that is that then. Where is the rest of the field then? That is the question. Then it looks like Mags has abandoned his time as well then. Plotters could be on track then for the front row. Then Kiki's finished and he stays P3, then Mags P4, Kamara P5. Here comes Jay Hings heading down the back straight now. Let's see what Jay Hings can do then in the Aston Martin. Can he improve then on P6? Then can he get himself ahead of the Williams and the Haas potentially then, as we go through the final couple of corners? And back into the pits comes the McLaren and the Racing Bull. Here comes Jay Hings then round the final couple of corners, then almost losing the back end of the car then, and he improves. But no, he doesn't, unfortunately. So that is him done and dusted. Then Sweet MJP has lost his front wing then. Mr. Elite has retired, I think, in the pit lane there. So it's Kydell's McLaren that's still on the track then. Tory has retired as well then in the box as well. And I think that is qualifying done and dusted then, as Vanquish has gone very wide then, and he is P19. Both the Racing Bulls having a horrible qualifying here, and that is qualifying done and dusted then, apart from this man here who's had a bit of a problem then with his front wing somewhere, and trying to get himself back into the pits. Should have just ran with saying I've got no setup, would have given me an excuse, says Gordo then. 1.5 seconds off, says Gordo as well then, I think. Yes, where Gordo is on a 27.6 then, and Beast is on a 26.4 then. Well, it's not 1.5, it's 1.4, don't worry. It's nothing bad at all. And there we go then. That is it for qualifying then. Of course, we'll be into the Grand Prix itself in just a jiffy. We'll run through the classification then and have a quick word from our sponsors before we crack on then with the racing in this Singapore Grand Prix. And there is the order then. Beast on pole position, then Plotters P2, second row for Kiki, then Mags in P4, Kamara Racer then P5, and Jay Hings alongside, and then Sweeter P7, Tory P8 in the Red Bull, Nigel P9, Gordo rounds off the top 10, then Vessia and R2B just outside for the Ferrari team in P11 and 12, then Kydell P13, Reflection P14, Mr. Elite P15, Irvine P16, Astrojon P17, Casey Dennett P18, and both the Racing Bulls then P19 and P20 for the start of this Grand Prix. Right then, we are ready to get started. And there we go, just in time. The formation lap about to get underway then. Good stuff indeed then. Right, we'll run through... What will we run through first then? We'll run through the tyre compounds then for the start of this Grand Prix. And the vast majority have opted for a medium compound tyre then to start the race here. It looks like it's going to be the first stint will be a dry race, that is. But we don't know what the weather's going to be like then for the rest of the Grand Prix. But as it stands, and it looks like there's a combination of hard compound tyres, or a couple of drivers on hard compound tyres, and the majority then medium compound tyres then as well then to start off this race for 31 laps then of the Singapore Grand Prix. And we've got somebody who has very dangerously opted for the soft compound tyres out there, and it is Casey Dennett then in the Kick Sauber, then reserving in place of Potster. And unfortunately for Casey, then he is well, supposedly it could work out. We'll have to wait and see then what the situation is like then in the race as it develops then. But the soft compound tyres we do not expect to last very long around here. So Casey is going to go for a short and sharp stint then on the soft compound tyres compared to those on the mediums and the two on the hards, which is R2 beat then in P12 then. So Ferrari splitting the strategy then. The same for Racing Bulls then. So there's hard compound tyres for Farf then. Medium compound tyres for Vanquish down in P20 and P19 respectively. R2 beat opting for the hard compound tyre then in P12. Then his teammate Vessia, who's one place ahead then in P11 on the medium compound tyres. Then everybody else then has gone for mediums then, so it's going to be a interesting way to start off this race. Then we'll have to wait and see then how it's going to unfold, but we will find out. So the formation lap then just about to get ourselves finished then. There's no abandoned starts then in ALR unless there's some sort of technical glitch. But no abandoned starts then for people crashing on the formation lap then. If it'll either reset you to the grid then, or you'll just have to get yourself sorted and back into the grid slot. So unfortunately for any Lance Strolls out there, then they have to get themselves back into the grid then to start the race. Then unfortunately you can't have a day off just spinning out on the formation lap. But nonetheless, that is my opinions on Lance Stroll, but there we go. I'm sure everybody else has their wonderful opinions too. We will start ourselves off then from this angle, I think, then it looks like, because we're going to have yeah, we'll start with this angle then, shall we? We will get ourselves ready to race then here in Singapore and wait for everyone to line up on the grid then, and hopefully we can get ourselves set. We are set, it looks like. I think we're set. Are we set? So this is the question. Right then. Here we go then. 5 red lights are on here in Singapore for Silver Season 8 then. And away we go then for the Singapore Grand Prix. A good start then. Plotters then. He's going to go down the inside then in towards turn 1. Has he got the lead then of the Grand Prix? Yes, he does. Then he's ahead of the beast. Into turn 1 then. Plotters with a fantastic start then. Max. Oh, goodness me, my voice. Max holds on to P3. Then he gains a place then on Kiki, who's dropped down to P4. Kamara Racer then P5. Then Tori's up 2 places. Then he's gained a fantastic position then on Jay Hings. And 300p. Then Vess is up into the top 10. Top 10, I should say. Then he's up into P10, then Nigel, then there's yellow flags in the background for a Alpine, and that I think is Astrojon then. My goodness me, my voice can't handle it already then, and that's going to be a problem because we've got 31 laps to go around here as we go down the inside then with Vessia, then Nigel then is turned in then with the when there's a Ferrari alongside it there, which is going to be problematic then. Goodness me, I thought they're going to go side by side through there as well then, and my goodness me, then Mr. Leaks had an issue then somewhere. Astrojon as well had an issue as well, and I'm not quite sure if they've both had a spin or if they've lost their front wings then. It looks like Mr. Elite is all intact there as we go through into Sector 2 then, and the same for, no, it's not the same for Astrojon. Unfortunately, he's lost a right end plate then, has the Alpine car heading through into Sector 2, then across the bridge then and down the Raffles Boulevard now as well. Then everybody else seems to have got away completely unwell. Well, everyone seems to have got away unhindered without any damage. And here comes Beast then trying to get himself back into the race lead. Then as we go down the inside, he's gone very wide off the circuit then. And I think that would be, and yes, he has done. He has conceded the place then. He's slotted himself back into P2 then ahead of Mags. But Mags all over the back now of the Mercedes. We go over the cross line to start off lap 2 here. And my goodness me then, fantastic start to this Grand Prix then. Unfortunately for Astrotron and for Mr. Elite then, they're not going to be too happy about that then, I don't think. But everybody else has got themselves away cleanly. And goodness me then, the soft compound tyres then for Casey Dennett got the inside for turn 3 then. Oh dear. Losing the back end a bit there then, and unfortunately that's going to be compromising Irvine as well. He's trying to get himself through as well then in P18. Then he's lost 2 places then as Irvine then, but trying to get himself back up the field. Then R2B's been passed by Reflection, then R2B on the hard compound tyres of course here, so he's not going to be too competitive just yet then to those on the medium compound tyres and to Casey potentially on the soft compound tyres. But he will get himself back in this race then later on in the stint then, and later on in this race as well then when he switches to the alternate strategy here in Singapore. So far so good then out in front then, the gaps then starting to emerge then, and Beast has already got himself back in contention with Plotters then for that race lead. Then Mags has dropped off, he's almost a second behind, then needs to try to stay within that DRS range then of the top 2 then to pull himself along here and protect himself then from Kiki and from Kamara and from Tori and from Jay Hings and from Sweet P then and from Vessia as we go across the Anderson Bridge then down towards Raffles Boulevard as well then into Sector 3 then on lap 2. My goodness me, fantastic start indeed then, but my voice can't handle it. But there we go then. Gordo has got himself past Kydell then. Gordo has lost 3 places now. Unfortunately, he had a bit of a difficult start then. Looks like Kydell's got a challenger from Farf, then down the inside goes Farf, then into the final chicane. Both the Racing Bulls trying to sandwich that McLaren as we go through onto lap 3 here. Flying through then goes the cars then into the final couple of corners. Then there's somebody with a fantastic engine going past my window as well then. And wow, that's fantastic stuff indeed. Right then, out in front then, 0.3 of a second. Then can Beast trying to retake the lead, I should say. Then down this straight, then heading towards turn 4 and heading towards turn 5, sir, I should say. And here he goes then. Beast is on the charge. Then he's got himself back up into the race lead onto lap 3. Then down the inside, he's got the move done and dusted. But Plotters then will be looking to fight back then in the next few corners as well. Then potentially then waiting for the next DRS zone as well. Then to make a charge. Then Mags then with that move has got himself up into P3 then and staying in contention then with the race leaders as well. Then Kiki in P4 then, as is Kamara Racer then P5, and they are holding station for the time being as well. Then so far so good then as it stands then in the opening stages of this Grand Prix. My goodness me then, it's been a fantastic start then. It's been an action-packed start as well then, to be fair, for Silver then, and they've kept it clean and tidy so far as well then, which is most important as we go through into Sector 2. Then round the hairpin we go for Casey Dennett on the soft compound tyres. He's gained 2 places on the soft compound tyres, but I don't think he's going to be gaining too many more places now, as those soft compounds I think will start to overheat very shortly in the Singapore heat. Then the night humidity then is going to be claiming the victim then of the soft compound tyres for Casey very quickly indeed. Or you'd imagine then in this Grand Prix. We'll switch on to the tyre situation now as Beast sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Plotters then staying within DRS range, but Beast is trying to pull away then from the Red Bull car as it stands. But the DRS then keeping Plotters and Max in contention here as we go around to start off lap 4. Then it looks like Casey then is almost losing the car then through that chicane, through those last couple of corners I should say then. But he's got himself under control. Farf now trying to catch up to Gordo. Then he's down to P13. Then we're trying to get himself back in play. Then is Gordo as we go through into turn 4 now as well. Then heading through onto the next DRS straight. Then is anybody going to make any moves around here? Then Plotters has gained almost 0.4 of a second then on his rival, then his race leader, or the race leader I should say then of Beast. Sorry, here comes Reflection and Nigel, and Reflection's got himself up into the top 10 here, 3 seconds behind the P9 man of Sweet MJP. But Reflection now up into the top 10 as it stands then. Oh dear, having a bit of a kiss with the wall then. Hopefully that is not got any damage, of course, not any damage then for the Williams driver then as we go through into the old Singapore sling now. And Reflection then is under pressure here from Nigel. Then Nigel trying to get that place back as quickly as possible to get himself back in the points paying positions here as we go through into Sector 2 once again. Then we're flying through as the top 5, the top 7 I should say then. Goodness me, they're all top 7, they're all in contention, and they're all in contention as it stands for the race lead. as we go through then into the final parts then of Sector 3 to finish off lap 4 here as well, then flying through over the curves then both the Rebel and the Mercedes then at different angles, but they have got themselves through then unscathed then as we head through to the final corner. Then let's see if Plottis can mount a charge then for the race lead once again. Then can he hold on to Beast, or is Beast now harvesting or saving some power then for the rest of the stint later on? Then when the tyres start to wear out around here, they do start to wear out pretty quickly indeed. Then Nigel's lost out to R2B, then R2B has got himself up into P11 here, and Nigel's been passed by Gordo as well. Then Gordo has got himself through past Kicksabber, and Nigel has had a bit of an issue somewhere at the final couple of corners then, because he's lost out 2 places. Then in the background we've got Vanquish, then Vanquish has gone for a spin, then into the pits comes Mr. Elite then for a wing change. It looks like M5's picked up the first penalty of the evening. Unfortunately for Vanquish, then that spin has cost him dearly. He's got himself back underway pretty quickly indeed as well though. One's got himself past Casey, then down towards turn 5, and the Haas now starting to get himself through the order now as well. Then I think Casey Jenner's soft compound tyres have started to wear out here. Mr. Elite has got himself a wing change and back onto the hard compound tyres and back underway, I should say. And now let's see what he can do then on this next stint. Then Nigel's been passed by Farf. Then Farf is on a charge here as well. Then Farf has gone on a charge as well. Then goodness me, almost kissing the wall. Then that was very dangerous stuff indeed. We've seen a racing ball having a bit of an issue there in gold last night as well then. But Farf has managed to keep it out of the wall this time. Then, oh dear, Nigel then sliding around the hairpin. Then that's going to be bad news for his medium compound tyres for sure. Then as he's trying to hold on to Farf, then trying to catch up to Farf. Now, unfortunately, with that bit of time lost then through that hairpin as well. Then top 7 still very close indeed. Then they're only separated by a few tenths of a second. Then for the as we can see them all flying through the final few corners here. Look at them go. Then they are absolutely doing a fantastic job. Then these top 4 yellow flags. Then it's a yellow flag for Vanquish. He's off the circuit again then, is Vanquish then somewhere, and he has lost a left end plate, then has the racing ball driver, unfortunately for him. Then Nigel's had a problem. Then Nigel spun the car then at the final corner, then he's off the circuit, then he's back underway, but unfortunately for Nigel then it's not going his way as well. Then Kydell's been passed by Astrojon then into the first turn, then Kydell dropping down to P7, then Astrojon up into P16. And there we go. Oh dear, Nigel then. Oh dear, what is going on for Nigel? Then he's having huge problems out there. Vessia has been passed. Sorry, Vessia has been passed by 300p. Then up into P8 now for the Alpine. Then heading down through to the next sector 2. Then as we go through, but unfortunately they are 4 seconds behind the top 7 as it stands now as well. Then Vanquish into the pit lane to sort out that car. Then he's got a wing change and hard compound tyres going on. Then Mr. Elite then is going to claim that P19 place, I should say. Then and these two are then going to try and get themselves back in this race. Then later on in this one, hopefully for hoping for a safety car or something like that, then to try and get themselves back into contention here. Right then. Out in front then we've got the top 7 still having a bit of a battle of their own really, as they fly through then into sector 3 then for the 6th time now on lap 6 here as we fly through sector 3, flying through I should say. Goodness me, I keep saying flying through, but there we go. Then Vanquish unfortunately picks up a penalty then for his troubles then going through turn 4, and that is, oh dear, there's a yellow flag then for Nigel. I think Nigel's had an issue then somewhere at the where is that? It's at the over the bridge then is Nigel. Then he's having a few issues trying to get the car started again or restarted, and pointed in the right direction as well then. And unfortunately for Nigel then that is big problems. Then that wing is definitely damaged now, unfortunately for the well, we've got problems for Vanquish as well then, and he is off the circuit at the oh dear, he's definitely lost an end plate, and my goodness me, then Vanquish and Nigel then struggling out there as well then, really having a bit of a difficult time then in the opening stage of this Grand Prix. Then like I said, if any safety cars do come out then that will be very good news then for both those drivers then to get themselves back in contention, then back into the race lead, then back into the pack I should say then. Goodness me, where I've completely missed it, I think, haven't I? Plottis has taken back the lead then. Gordon's got himself past R2B for P11 then, and trying to get himself in contention then for the top 10. Then into the pits comes Nigel then to call it a day on those medium compound tyres and get that front wing change then, but Plottis has lost the lead. Plottis is off the circuit then. Oh my goodness me, Plottis has got a 3-second time penalty then, and Mags has gone through then for P2. My goodness me, we didn't see what happened there, but Plottis then had some terrible issues then into the old Singapore sling, and that cost him the race lead. Then 3-second penalty for Vanquish, who's retired on the circuit. Then it's a virtual safety car, and unfortunately that is, well, that's not what Nigel needs, because Nigel really needs a safety car, proper safety car, doesn't he? As does Mr. Elite then, but there we go, then back underway, and Yes, unfortunately for Vanquish, then here's the first casualty then of the Singapore Grand Prix here tonight then, which is a big shame then, but the virtual safety car has been called out then. This is where it gets a bit dicey indeed then with the we got pit stop action then, and we got Mags into the pits, as is Plotters as well then, the former race leader then is Plotters then into the pits, then we go then. Both the Red Bulls are double stacking here, which is going to be terrible news for Tori then, who's right behind his teammate then, but he's trying to use the VSC to his optimum. We got a wing change then for Plotters as well, then that's going to be horrible news then for the Red Bull team, and that is going to demote them down the order massively indeed as well, and unfortunately for Tori then, he's going to be coming off very much worse than out of that one. Right then, oh my god. Right, goodness me, I can't even speak now and I'm running lap 8, but there we go then. Kiki's got a drive-through penalty then as a spinning under the VSC, and that is terrible stuff. Oh my god, I thought there was going to be some sort of a problem. Oh god, it looks like there is still going to be some sort of problems there, as Kiki, my god, I can't even speak now, but Kiki then is, he's taken the lead. What has happened? There's Beast who's had a problem then somewhere, and Beast has had an issue somewhere. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Beast, but oh no, and Kiki's off the circuit then. Kiki's had a massive issue then, and unfortunately for Kiki, that was a big spin, and we've seen it happen before for Kiki then, where his race has a bit of a blip then, and it goes wrong for Kiki, and unfortunately I think it's the same thing. It's just a mentality thing, unfortunately, I think, for Kiki then, as we got more pit stop action. Then Mr. Elite is back in the pits for a wing change there as well then. Casey Jennett was ghosting there. I think Tori's got himself through. Then Nigel has got himself past Mr. Elite, who's coming down the pit lane now. The question for Mr. Elite is, can he stay on the lead of the race, on the lead lap of the race, I should say. Yes, I think he can, but it's going to be close. Jay Hings is now in contention for the race lead then as we go through into turn 1 here, as he's putting the pressure on Beast, but Beast must have had an issue somewhere under that VSC, because it did not look like and Kiki definitely had an issue then under that VSC. But he's got that drive-through penalty there, and unfortunately, I think he's going to have some more problems then as well, with Reflection now chasing him down then into turn 4, and we'll see what's going to come about in this race as well. Then we'll find out very shortly as we go down the straight towards turn 5 into sector 2. Then here comes Farf then trying to get himself past R2B, and he has done up into P7 now for Farf then, but of course is carrying that penalty then. Well, let's have a look and see what penalties we got then. We've got 3 seconds then for Farf, for Kaidel, and for Plotters, and that drive-through penalty then for Kiki, this man here in the Mercedes then, who had probably a difficult VSC restart, and unfortunately then that has given him a drive-through penalty then. It's going to have to serve, I should say, then in the next few laps or so. What's happening here then, as we got the Alpine then of Sweet P then losing out to both Plotters and to Gordo. Into the race lead goes Ultimate. No, it doesn't. I thought he was going to go into the race lead then, but into the race lead goes Jay Hings then, momentarily that is, because Beast has claimed it back then as we go down towards the end of lap 9 now, and flying through then Nigel picked up a 3-second penalty as well then, unfortunately for Nigel, and we go through then, and Nigel's back in the pit lane. Unfortunately, that is him off the lead lap now of the Grand Prix as it stands as well. Then unfortunately he's down a lap then, and we'll have to wait and see then when the other drivers do start to pit as well. Then Kiki then is back. Kiki is coming? Kiki, I think, having his drive-through penalty. Then that is the Mercedes then coming into the pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty. Then he might come out very close indeed. Then well, no, it'll be ahead then of Plotters, I think. But of course Plotters has pitted, but Kiki is serving a drive-through penalty, of course. So it's going to be very different then for Kiki later on in this race. And it's going to be close indeed as well, actually, between the Red Bull then and the rest of the pack then coming through, but he is unfortunately down behind Sweet 100p as well. Then you've got yellow flags on the straight there, and that is Kaidel potentially. Is it Kaidel? No, it's not Kaidel. It's Mags then going for a move then. Oh my god! And Mags has come across the McLaren then, and into the wall go both cars. And that, I think that was Mags then thinking he got the move done then, but he definitely didn't have the move done at all there, unfortunately for Mags. And that has cost them both damage as well. Then Astrojon then is in contention now to get himself further up the order as well, which is good stuff indeed for the Alpine. But both of them then, with wing damage as well, then heading through Sector 2, then that's going to be very treacherous indeed. But I think actually Astrojon has got wing damage as well, then he's lost the right end plate there, has the Alpine. So all 3 of the cars in the shot here are going to have to come into the pit lane to sort out that wing damage, I think, as well then, unfortunately. And I think that was, yeah, like I said, we were said before at the start of the event, then that be a bit of race rustiness. Then, unfortunately for Mags, I don't think he completely cleared the McLaren then and came across the front of of Kaido, I should say. Then, and now he has got some big problems. Then with that front wing needing to be sorted out. Then as well. Then heading through towards the pit lane now. Then for the Haas. Then I think Kaido will also be into the pits as well. Then to get that changed and get himself onto a new set of tyres at the same time here as well. Then Kaido also into the pits as well now. And oh dear, trying to slow the car down then seemed to be problematic then for the McLaren driver as well. Right then, out in front, the top where are we? The top 9 are not pitted yet in this Grand Prix. So we have got a bit of a challenge then on for Jay Hings then and for Kamara Racer. Then can they hold on to the race lead? And then Vess here is 4 seconds behind. Reflection then has dropped off down to P5 then, unfortunately for Reflection. Then Farf then is up into P6 then, and R2B. We've got more yellow flags. Nigel was out of the Grand Prix. Then there's a yellow flag. It's a racing safety car. It's a safety car, and I think there's been a problem then between Kiki and Nigel there as well then, because both of them seem to be, well, Nigel's out of the Grand Prix here, and that is pretty serious stuff indeed then. Kiki then is back underway then, but and he hasn't got any damage then, has Kiki somehow. So that is, well, okay, pretty good stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it seemed like Nigel then had ended up in the wall, and we will have to find out then later on after the Grand Prix. But we've got 20 laps of racing then to come after this safety car then, and I think what I'm going to do then during the safety car is quickly have a quick drink because my voice is dying then. So I'll be back in 2 seconds then, but the safety car then will hopefully catch up the rest of the field, or the lead of the field I should say then, very shortly, and we can crack on then. Mr. Elite is coming to the pits then to himself a new set of tyres then, and I think he'll get himself back out on the lead lap then, provided everybody else stays or everybody else goes into the pit lane, that is. So a bit of a dangerous call then from Mr. Elite, but I think he has got himself back out and back underway then, and he should be able to get himself onto the lead lap once again then, and get himself back underway then. I'll be back very shortly then. We'll have to wait for the safety car to catch up to the catch up the race leaders and catch up the whole pack then, and we'll be back underway very shortly. Right then, I got myself sorted. Hopefully my voice can hold on for the next few laps. Potentially. We'll have to find out. Right, we are back underway then. So hard compound tyres for the majority of the field, and Farf and R2B after starting on the hard compound tyres have had to switch as Plotters has joined back the session then. Not sure what happened there, but he has put himself back in then. Currently, no, he's where is he? He's out of the race. Oh. What happened to Plotters? I don't even know what happened to Plotters there, sorry. So he's been disqualified then, has Plotters then, and unfortunately that is him out of the race. And after it was looking pretty good then from the start, then he was battling Beast for the race lead. Then Jay Hings is next on the cards then to battle the Mercedes driver. Then we'll have to wait and see then when we get ourselves restarted then how it's going to fare then for the rest of this Grand Prix. Then potentially those who have pitted for a fresh set of hard compound tyres can get to the end of the Grand Prix from here. It might be a stretch for everybody else, then we'll have to wait and see. But we will find out then in just a jiffy then, hopefully, as we get ourselves ready to race once again then. And he passed the safety car, says ALR Esports then. Oh dear. Right then, so that is a bit of a problem then. Well, you can't do that then in league racing or in real life, to be fair. So unfortunately, that is well, fair game then from the safety car to take Plotters as a victim. Is next victim, I should say, then for the safety car. Then 20 laps then will be remaining at the end of this lap then, and we're still waiting, I think, for a couple of drivers then to catch up to the queue. Unfortunately for the safety car, it will well, for the drivers then, it will get bored of waiting then eventually and get himself back into the pit lane. But yes, welcome to Singapore then. Of course, like I said, it's the first race of the season, and I'm not quite sure how Plotters went past the safety car, to be honest, because he wasn't the race leader. So I'm not sure what happened there. So I don't know how he went past the safety car then if he wasn't the race leader then, because the race leader was picked up by the safety car first, I would imagine. But there we go. That is odd, but it has happened now. It's too late, unfortunately, then for Plotters. Then hopefully he can crack on then next race. But yeah, a bit of an odd one that. But there we go. Right then, we are almost back underway, or ready to get back underway then in this race. Unfortunately for Mr. Elite, then he's still struggling to catch up to the queue. But hopefully one day he will be back on the pack. Then we can get ourselves restarted here. I think Mr. Elite might be able to get himself into the pit lane at the next lap, then if he can catch up quickly enough, and then get himself onto the back of the queue then on a fresh set of hard compound tires potentially then for the restart. Then we're going to be starting, I think, on lap 14, and because the safety car will get bored of waiting for Mr. Elite. Unfortunately, it is the way it happens, way it works, I should say then. But that is just the jiffy. Then that is how the safety car works in Codemasters games. As we go through then to finish off lap 13, then almost at the halfway point of the Grand Prix here. Like I said, it's been an absolute action-packed first half of the race then. Unfortunately, we had Vanquish, and Vanquish had what's happening here? Max is into the pits again then, so unfortunately for Max then, he's calling it a day then on his hard compound tires already then. Mr. Elite then is trying to catch up still, and unfortunately that is going to be a bit too far back then, I think, to be able to make a pit stop at this stage of the race then, but he's going to try it anyway, I think. And yeah, the problem with that is that I think the safety car will be in this lap then, regardless of whether Mr. Elite is on the back of the queue or not then, so he's going to have to go like the clappers then to catch up then on the on his out lap. Plotters said internet issues then. It was ignoring yellow flags, then it passed safety car, said Serious Mushroom, then oh dear, so it must have been some sort of it must have been a glitch then, I think, because we've seen Plotters have a bit of a problem then with his connection sometimes as well before, but usually it is well, thankfully not too detrimental then in most races, but unfortunately this time it's cost him a place then, unfortunately, in this Grand Prix. Then Mr. Elite is back out of the pit lane now, and he's got quite a bit of catching up to do then to get himself onto the back of the queue for this restart. Then he might be able to make it in time, then we'll have to wait and see, but Mags then should be able to catch up in time as well. Then Mags is going to try and do a pretty good stint then on the medium compound tyre. Then he's going to have to do, what is that, 17 laps or so then on the medium compound. Then that could be a bit of a stretch then for the mediums, but we'll have to wait and see then at the end of the Grand Prix. Right then, safety car I think will be in this lap. We'll have to wait until we get to the end of sector 2 then to indicate that. Between that, I'm going to have a quick drink before this restart, because I imagine it's going to be a bit spicy indeed. Right then, safety car is in this lap then. We will get ourselves racing once again then onto lap 15. 16 laps remaining at the end of lap 15, so 17 laps in total then of racing to the checkered flag. And Mr. Elite, I think, will just about catch up in time here, which is good stuff indeed then for the McLaren driver. He needs to try and get himself onto the back of the queue quickly enough then as they go down at the newest straight, then the newest part of the circuit here, as it's been reprofiled, of course, then, and there he is then. He has joined onto the back of the queue before the race restarts then. Good stuff indeed. Now we come back to Beast. Let's see when he's going to go and drop the hammer then, when he's going to restart this Grand Prix. Then the safety car is back in the pit lane, and I think we're going now. Away we go then for the restart of this race then, onto lap 15 here. Flying through then to restart this Grand Prix, and Beast then has been kept in contention and kept in close proximity then by Jay Hings. Jay Hings then has stayed with the race leader then for the time being. Then that restart then didn't catch him out. Then Kamara Race has gone wide then at turn 3 and got himself a penalty for his troubles as well. Then that's promoted Gordo up into the podium places as it stands. Then Gordo's on older tyres though. Have to remember that then later on in this race. Then Casey Jennett's been passed by, has got himself past Mags, or Mags has got himself past Casey Jennett. They're not sure what's going on there, but Mags has got himself through then and up into a P15, sorry, as we go through towards turn 5 then, and down the inside, down the outside then goes Mr. Elite. Then there's contact between the two of them then, goodness me. And I don't think Mr. Elite then really had the right of way on that one, but Casey has let him through nonetheless then. But there we are then, my lovely opinions coming out in this quality stream. But there we go then, heading through into sector 2 then, past the old Singapore sling, far fall over the back of Reflection, then pushing the Williams car then through the corners, which technically is illegal because you're not allowed to make contact with other cars. But there we go then, penalised far then at your will. But of course no DRS then on the safety car restart. Kiki's has been passed by Max. Then Max is on a charge here on the medium compound tyre, heading down towards sector 3 then, and he's got himself past Kiki then, who was looking formidable then at the opening stage of this Grand Prix. Then Max has got a penalty then as well, unfortunately for the Haas driver, then picking it up then going into sector 3. Favre's got himself past Reflection here. I'm up into P7 then, Reflection then dropping down to P8 then as it stands then, but it's going to get a bit tight through here if they're going to start battling as well. Then into the pits comes a Red Bull. And that is Tory then. Tory cornering it today then. Oh, he's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well then, has Tory. Unfortunately, not quite sure what's happened then to the Red Bull driver then. He's into the box then. It doesn't look like he's got any wing damage yet. He's got a drive-through penalty that he's retired in the pit lane then. So that's him done and dusted then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Welcome back. But there we go then. Out in front then. And Kaidel has been passed by Kiki. Then Kaidel, oh dear, Mags is off the circuit. Then Mags is off the circuit at turn 4, and that is a spin then. But I think he's got himself. He didn't go into the wall then, did Mags? He's got himself back underway quickly enough. Then I don't know why you activate DRS then. It's just after a spin then. It's definitely not wise, I don't think. Tory has left the session then, so that's him done and dusted in this race, I should say. Then 4 drivers then have retired. Then I think unfortunately for both Red Bulls, then one of them's pit and quit effectively, and the other one had the issues then with connection and under the safety car, which cost him his place in the race then after the safety car decided to disqualify him as well. But there we go then, he has got himself assaulted then. Sweet MJP picks up a penalty then. Kamara Race has got himself past Jay Hings up into P2 now for Kamara then. Both these two have penalties then. Jay Hings has picked up a penalty somewhere as well. Then Gordo could be in contention. Then Sweet MJP's had an issue then. He's out of the race as well then. My goodness me, what has happened to Sweet MJP? And I can't tell. He's he's in the... No, he's just retired on the circuit then, has Sweet MJP then. So he is done and dusted in this race as well then for the Alpine driver. And retiring on the track then okay, fair enough I suppose, but all right. We've got 15 left and 17 laps then on to lap 17 I should say. Then we've got 16 laps completed then. A Red Bull then, that's a Red Bull I think of Tory's cars still going around in the circuit then, which is fantastic. Everyone giving up then in this Grand Prix then. It makes it wonder why I shouldn't give up myself as well, and maybe I will at the end of the season then, but there we go. But Vessia then looking to challenge Gordo for that P4 position, which could become a net P2 then as it stands, at the moment that is, anyway, with the penalty situation then for Jay Hings then, and for Kamara Racing then as we go through into Sector 2 now, flying through then for the Red Bull, for the Racing Bull, so no, for whatever it is, for the Aston Martin and the Williams that is, but nothing like a Racing Bull, but there we go. And we go through then the old Singapore sling then, Farf then drifting the car through. Will those medium tyres get to the end of the Grand Prix for Farf then and for R2B is the question. We'll have to find out then. More yellow flags. And I really hope that this ghost car then doesn't get himself involved then in the race itself as well then, because he's going to be, well, there's the race leader then as well then, heading through in towards the final chicane then. I think he has ghosted then, thankfully, but I'm not quite sure what has happened then, and Tory's car then, which is why you're not allowed to retire on the track then, or retire in the pit lane really, but there we go then. Unfortunately it is just parking itself then. It's going back into the pit lane there, which is just ideal because it could have just stayed there really. But there we are then. Vessia's got himself up into P4 then, passing Gordo then on his fresher hard compound tyres then. Into turn 1 we go, and Vessia has picked up a penalty then for his troubles then going through into turn 1 at a bit of speed then, and unfortunately that is his third warning then for track limits as well then, so that is going to be a 3-second penalty added to his time then as it stands. They've lost a lot of time then to Jay Hings and to Kamara Racing then, who are trying to track down Beast then, but there they are then in the background then. In the foreground then, going through turn 5 is Beast. Gordo's back past Vessia then into P4, up into turn 5 I should say. And Kiki back into points now, passing Astrodron then into the top 10. Then goes the Mercedes driver as well, trying to recover in this Grand Prix. But looking good so far then, back up into the... what is going on there? That's a Red Bull is driving around the circuit then still, which is just stupid. Finally, I think it's given up and it's stopped now. But yeah, fingers crossed then that is it. There we are then. So that is that then. I think we'll crack on then. Casey Dennett's picked up a 3-second penalty, unfortunately for him then as well, which is a big problem then for the kicks out. There's lots of penalties starting to roll in now as well here. We didn't see too many penalties last night in goal, but there was a few. But there is quite a few here in silver tonight. Then as R2B has got himself past reflection. Now he's being challenged by the Williams car. They're heading through into sector 3 here. There's no DRS down this straight like there was in real life then, but they will have to make do then, as we've got a problem then for Farf. And Farf has lost out to R2B then, and potentially Reflection as well then. Reflection trying to go through into P6 then, but P7 I should say that he has done, passing Farf then, who's ghosted, and dropped down to P8 then as well then. Farf with an issue then into the chicane then, and I think Sweet P has said that Farf might have been of the issue that he faced then in the first couple of quarters, into sector 2 then, for that retirement then for the Alpine. But still, unfortunately, it is not an excuse then to retire on track then and give up then in this Grand Prix, especially with so many laps to go then, especially with the race rustiness that we've seen, unfortunately. We might see a few safety cars still to come in this race then, as Reflection passes R2B, then splitting through Ferrari, around the outside goes Farf then, trying to get himself back past R2B then into the next left-hander, I should say, then, goodness me. And now R2B under pressure from Irvine as well. We go through towards the old Singapore sling then, but R2B holds station for the time being now, unfortunately losing out to Farf then, but now trying to get himself back in contention is his next play, I should say then. Beast has just gone then, says Mushroom, then he's 3 seconds ahead of Kamara Racer then as it stands, with only 12 laps to go then at the end of this one. Then it's going to be still going to be quite a long way to the finish then, because we haven't done more than 12 laps then without a safety car or a VSC, so there could still be something to offer then in this race from that point of view, but hopefully not in my case. But there we go then, flying through then goes Jay Hings, and like I said, Jay Hings trying to challenge then for that P2 position. Then currently it would be a net P2 position for both Camaro or for Jay Hings, and whichever one finishes that position, because the penalties then would not make much of a difference then between these two. They are currently 4.8 seconds ahead of Gorda. Then Gorda has really dropped off the field and unfortunately dropped off the top two, or the top three I should say, then unfortunately then with those older hard compound tyres potentially going for a graining phase then for the Aston Martin, ahead of the Casey Gents being passed by Mags. But Mags has gone back through, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but nonetheless, so we crack on. But I think Mags trying to go for the DRS then, but there's already DRS games then. McLaren then switching positions, I should say then, but both of them on the same strategy as it stands then as well. Then here comes Mags trying to get himself past Casey Dennett then into turn 5, and he's gone a bit wide then as Mags then, but he's got himself past and up into P14. Right then, 3.7 seconds the gap out in front. Then Jay Hings trying to hold on to Kamara Racer. He's trying to extend that gap as well here, 1.5 tenths or so away from that 1 second. And Jay Hings then is trying to hold on to the Williams and it stands, and looks like Kamara Racer is pushing as we go through onto lap 20 now as well. Then Vessier then on the attack, then trying to get himself down around the outside at turn the sector 3 I should say. Then goodness me, then not a traditional overtaking place then, but I think that's where we had Farf and as Mags has been passed by Casey Dennett as well then. That's where we had Farf and Sweet Repeat having in their issues, but nonetheless, so we crack on then. Vessier then has gone through then, not gone through then, Vessier still all over the back then of Gordo as we head through onto lap 21 then of 31 then, 11 laps remaining then including this one. Here comes Vessier then, Vessier on the attack then down towards turn 1 then. Has he made the move then? Yes he has, and this time he's kept it within track limits as well, it looks like, which is good stuff indeed. Then Gordo then, oh dear Gordo then as Reflection has I think almost been swiped then by oh dear, he's lost out a lot of places then as Reflection. He's down to P10 then, is the Williams driver, and unfortunately that is at Gordo's doing as well then, and I think Gordo is starting to struggle with his tyres out there. That is the reason why then, but I think it was just a bit of a I'm not quite sure then, it was almost into the back then of Kiki, but I'm not quite sure if Reflection was a bit too close then, and unfortunately so wrong place, wrong time, or if that was Gordo then trying to get the car started, or trying to get the car, put the power down I should say, then not get the car started, and unfortunately costing Reflection then in that sense as well. Then unfortunately it seems like that is the case then. The top three have scampered away then. 6 seconds separates the top three from Vessier then in P4, and then we've we've got a bit of a train starting to form then down to the bottom of the points then from Vessia then and all the way down pretty much then to P10, potentially even more to P11 and P12 then very shortly as Astrodron and the McLarens are catching up here as well then. R2 then looking for a move then on Farf then trying to go around the outside here, but that is going to be dangerous stuff indeed. And there's contact, I think, or there is some sort of issue then. And yes, that is just typical stuff indeed then as well. As we go through, then Vessia has been passed by Gordo, then Gordo up into P4, then these two actually splitting away then from the rest of the pack. Then R2B up into P6. Then, oh my God, he's gone so slowly then through turn 2 that it unsettled the Racing Bull of Farf there as well then. And unfortunately, I think that might have been, well, he went into the back of the Ferrari, but I don't think there's any damage then for Farf, thankfully. Very much jumping around then is the connection then, but hopefully that's just me and not the actual lobby. Gordo's been passed back by Vessia, then into turn 5, then he's dropped down to P5, then here comes Farf then and R2B then side by side through turn 5, then R2B's got the inside for turn 6 and I think has held on to the place then for the Ferrari team then. Yes, he has done. Good stuff indeed. My God, then it is getting action-packed out there then, and there's a Mercedes weaving around all over the place then as well. Then that is Kiki, and that is not what you want to be doing. Then there's Astrodron and Kaidel then are battling away. Then Kaidel has got himself through. Then I think, oh no, he hasn't. He's clouted the wall then as Kaidel, and unfortunately that was not an overtaking position then, and that is why he has clouted the wall there as well. And I think he has lost an end plate, unfortunately, then for the McLaren driver. Then that is bad news indeed then. But Mr. Elite has caught up to the fight then for the top 10 and potentially could get himself into the points paying positions then, not with action like that then on the traction, unfortunately. But there we go then. He would crack on to beat now 2 seconds behind the P4 and P5 places of Vessia and Gordo, who are 8.7 seconds behind the race leaders, and the top 3 then splitting away. Then Beast is now 5 seconds away then from Kamara Racer. Then Jay Hing trying to hold on to that P2 position, trying to get himself back in contention then in this Grand Prix, potentially for well, he is on the podium as it stands penalty wise, even including the penalty situation then for track limits. Then he is on the podium then, as is Kamara Racer, because they've got quite a substantial gap then behind of 9 seconds then to Vessia. Then here comes Gordo looking to line up a move then for that P4 position. Then can he go round the outside? Then can he go down the inside now at turn 5? Then yes, he will do, but Vessia's trying to hold it round the outside. Then he's held it very nicely indeed round the outside. Then Kiki's past Irvine, I think, then at turn 5 as well. Then Irvine having a bit of a struggle, and then on the traction it looks like then he's got himself back underway. And oh dear, it looks like Irvine's really struggling then on the traction then through turn 6 as well then, but he has got himself sorted now, I think. And cracking on. Good stuff indeed. Then R2B is really caught up now. Look at him go. Then he is flying then on the medium compound tyres. Then I'm not quite sure if those medium compound tyres are going to feel so good then towards the end of the Grand Prix. If they're going to try and stay out then to the end of this race, then we'll have to wait and see. But they're going to be. He's got himself into contention, I think, almost. Then we've got a McLaren then having an issue at the exit of the hairpin, and that is Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite's having another issue. Then unfortunately that has dropped him out of contention. Then he was doing so well then to just hold on to the top 10 there and potentially fight then for some points then in this race then, but unfortunately that spin, or that half spin, has dropped him out of contention. Then Kiki has got himself past Farf. Now Farf, I think, starting to struggle on the medium compound tyres here, and we will have to wait and see then what the medium compound tyres are going to be doing then in the rest of this race then. But unfortunately I think they're going to be starting to drop down the field at this stage then. Reflection all over the back of Irvine then, heading for P9, then down the inside at turn 1. Then has he got the move done is the question. There's contact, and Irvine holds on to the place then for the time being then. But yes, a bit rubbing his racing then, I think, then from rubbing his racing then from those two. But they hold status quo then for the time being as well there. Kiki now has got 1.9 second gap then to the top 6 then. Kiki's doing a good job of recovering in this race, even though it's not gone all his way then so far in this race. He could still be in contention then for a good haul of points here tonight then. Irvine and Reflection, there's contact then, I think, with Reflection there as well. Then I thought there was some debris flying off there, and no, it seems to be all right then for the front wings, that is, at least. But maybe then a bit of an issue between Irvine and Reflection there as well then. Goodness me, there is all sorts of action going all over the track then. Right then, out in front, and the gap's starting to come down then. It was almost at 5 seconds then, but Kamara's reeled Beast in by half a second then on the last lap then. What's happening? Beast has had an issue. Has he got some tyre problems? Let's have a look then. Nope, he's not got any tyre issues. He's not got any fuel issues either, but he has lost a lot of time then to Kamara Racer. So I'm not quite sure what's happened to Beast there, but he is trying to gain that time back now, I think. But Yes, that is odd stuff indeed. Then we'll have a look at the ERS status then for the last 5 or 6 laps or so here. Kamara Race has picked up another penalty. That's bad news indeed. And I think that promotes Jay Hings up into P2 then in this Grand Prix. And fantastic stuff indeed for him then. Gorda then is looking to try and chase down Vessi then. But R2B has joined the fight then. Kiki looking to join the fight here as well then. And Kiki then looking for a fantastic recovery in this Grand Prix then after being at the back of the race very early on in this Grand Prix. Then yellow flags in Sector 3. Then there's a problem then for Mags trying to get himself into the pit lane, and he has driven himself into the wall there as well then, so that is interesting stuff indeed. And Mags then is back into, well, he's got himself into the pit somehow there, but unconventional pit entry, let's just put it that way. But he is retired in the pit lane as well then, so that is another pit and quit then. Fantastic. Right then, well, I will just crack on then with the 14 drivers who can be bothered at this point, but there we are then. Makes me want to bother and not want to bother as well then, but there we go. We'll crack on then. Sector 2 then, sector the Singapore Sling then for Gorda. Then can he get himself into contention for that P4 position? Currently penalty wise, he and R2 beat then, and potentially Kiki will jump up the order then, passing Vessia. Then Vessia has got penalties then as well. 6 seconds, or 6 seconds for Jay Hings as well. I didn't see that. So both Kamara Racer and Jay Hings are on the same level then in terms of penalties then. So they will be battling for position. Then I think Jay Hings has had an issue then somewhere, because he's lost out then to Kamara Racer. Then he's 1.4 seconds behind now, and there's been some sort of issue then for the Aston Martin there. But nonetheless, then penalty wise, then Vess has got 3 seconds, and he would lose out to Gordo, to R2 beat, and potentially then to Kiki as well. We've got Favre with 6 seconds, and that would potentially demote him out of the points paying positions then, because Mr. Elite then is still within that 6 second range as well here. So Mr. Elite could get himself some points here tonight as well then, which not out of the question then, although he's got himself a penalty then, which is going to be a problematic situation. Then he needs to stay within 3 seconds now with Favre if he wants to try and get himself into the points paying positions. But yes, we'll have to wait and see then how that's going to unfold then in the next 4.5 laps then, as here comes Gordo then down the inside at turn 5. There's contact between the two of them. Gordo's trying to have to, had to try and rectify the situation, and oh dear, Farf and Irvine have come together as well then at turn 5 then. It seems like a few drivers then are miscalculating, let's just say they're miscalculating the braking zones at turn 5. We'll put it that way then, but unfortunately for Irvine and Reflection, they're going to have to try and get themselves past Farf quickly, because Farf is now on medium compound tyres that I think are starting to die off then. RGB has saved up a lot of ERS then in the last few laps, and he's got a full tank of ERS, a full battery of ERS there, but of course then maybe just using that to try and keep himself within contention then of the 2 ahead of him here as we head into sector 3 now. Irvine has got himself past Farf here, up into P8 now as well, trying to charge on then. Farf, and he's trying to fight on then, but I'm not quite sure why. He's got penalties then, and he's just closed the door on Reflection. And yes, that's fantastic stuff indeed then. Unfortunately for Reflection, his race has been ruined there. But we crack on then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Yes, right then, we crack on then, is the only thing we can do really, unfortunately. Well, let's have a look and see who's going to pit and quit next, really. We'll find out next, as Farf's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit then, unfortunately for him. Then Reflection then is trying to get himself back underway, then he's now 10 seconds off the top 10 as well here, after all of that as well then. But there we go then, as we crack on to lap 27 then of 31 now. And unfortunately it's gone from bad to worse in this race, but there we are then. That is the situation that we're in then, unfortunately. But we'll just have to deal with what we got then, unfortunately. Like I said, a bit of race rust, let's just say that, at the beginning of the end of the season, that is, beginning of the end of the season, around 18 then of 24. Then we've only got 6 rounds to go then after this one, and then we can pack up for the season then and go home. I'm already at home, but I am looking forward to dealing with the having a bit of a Christmas break, let's just put it that way. And yeah, there we are then. I haven't come back from the F1 break very well positively, so there we are. We'll just have to crack on then and get on with it. But there we are, that is the situation then. But now we've got some good racing going on between the top of the order then, and they are at the top of the order then because of a reason there. That is why they are battling then for the big points. They are putting on a show here tonight. Then here comes Gordon then trying to challenge then Vessia then on to lap 28 now, or we're on lap 28 now. I think we've just started it for Beast, who is 4.4 seconds ahead then, but he has not been able to get that gap up further than that 5-second mark really. It's come back down then in Kamara Racer's favour then. Kamara's doing a good job out there, currently in P2, Jay Hings P3. The podium currently sorted as it stands even with the penalty situations. Then Vessia P4, and we've got Gordo and R2B in contention. Kiki's now within the DRS range then of this trio as well, and ahead of him, and looking to get himself further up the order here as well. Then Reflection's been got himself past Casey Janet then for P12, and back underway then for the Reflection. Then unfortunately that whatever happened there between himself and Farf then has cost him dearly. Then unfortunately for Reflection, he was running in the points paying positions. Then Mr. Elite's got himself past Irvine. Irvine then is well, I think I'm not sure that these two are. Oh dear, oh god, what? Oh my days. So, yes, I'm not sure these two really need to fight, to be honest, because Irvine doesn't need to put any pressure on Mr. Elite. Yellow flag somewhere. It's Kiki. It's Kiki's had an issue then, and he's back underway again. Then he's had a problem with the Singapore sling, and he has got a left end plate damage as well. Then has Kiki. He is back underway. Can he get to the end of the race then? He's got left end plate damage. Can he get to the end of the race then and hold on for the points paying position that he's currently in? Then P10, then can Kaidel catch him and pass him by over 3 seconds is the question as well then. But unfortunately for Kiki then, he has got some damage there. I'm not quite sure. Oh, we've got Kaidel then, who's gone straight on into a wall then as well, which is... I'm not quite sure what happened to Kaidel then either, but yes, yeah... Oh my god. So yeah, there we go. Reflection's gone through. What's happened there? I'm not quite sure what's happened between Reflection and Kaidel. Kaidel has got wing damage then as we go through then, as Kaidel is staying out then as well. Oh dear, and yeah, oh dear. Just please realise people have got wing damage and stuff. Soft compound tyres going on for Kiki then as we go through then, as we go into lap 29 now. Kaidel then is under pressure from Casey Janet, then Farf has set the fastest lap of the race. Then Kiki, I think, trying to rival Farf then for that final point as well then for the fastest lap. We go through then onto lap 29, then only 2 laps remaining after this one. Mr. Elite and Irvine still fighting away. That I'm not really sure why Mr. Elite is trying to fight this one so hard, to be honest, but because he's going to lose out to oh dear, Kaidel trying to go down the inside, and Casey Janet's been forced wide then by the McLaren then, who's not got any front wing then, which is probably why he is having a few issues. But I'm not. Casey just needs to realise that and just sort of power through. But unfortunately, he has been held up by the McLaren then at this moment in time. Oh dear, as Casey's picked up a 3-second penalty, but this is where Kaidel can't slow the car down, and unfortunately for him, he has lost out to the kick Sauber then for Casey, then up into P11, I should say. Then Mr. Elite, like I said, doesn't really need to fight Irvine, but he has fought Irvine. He's got himself back up to P7 here. But yes, like I was saying, penalty-wise, unfortunately, he will be demoted down 2 places then, with Astrojon and Irvine in close proximity then to the McLaren as we head onto lap 30, the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix here tonight. Then so far so good. Then Kian has said hello as well. Then good luck to Kian tomorrow night. I think he's racing in bronze, I would imagine, unless he's not. But good luck then to yourself, sir. Out in front then, the gap 4.3 seconds, and it's dwindling around that 4.5 second mark, and Jay Hings then is 4.5 seconds back then from Kamara Racer then, so it looks like it's going to be a steady podium finish then for these 3 drivers then, as they've got an 11-second gap then to Vessia then, who is under challenge and under pressure then from Gordo and R2B then. Unfortunately for Kiki then, he was putting the pressure on, but he has unfortunately had that issue then and spun the car then. He has not got himself, he's on the way to the fastest lap now, I should say. Then goodness me. Driver of the day is out in the comments then. Beast, Gordo, Irvine and R2B then are your candidates then. It's there we go. Then this is your position changes. Beast of course has led from the from pole position here tonight then. So far so good for the Beast then. Kamara has gained 3 places, as has Jay Hings. Then Vesh has gained 7 places then from P11. Then Gordo's gained from P10. Then R2B from P12. Then Mr. Elite has gained from well, he's not going to be gaining from he's not going to be 8 places unfortunately. Irvine's going to gain 9 places here actually because of the penalty situation. Then Astrotron has picked up a penalty. Then that's good news for Mr. Elite. Then he can hold on then for P8 because Irvine has not got any penalties, but Astrojon now has got a 3-second penalty to his name then, and Irvine will be very happy with that as well then, because he doesn't have to have any pressure then. He doesn't have to worry about the pressure then from Astrojon. He can even let the Alpine go through as we go on to the final lap of the Grand Prix here. But there are the position changes now for this race. And here comes Beast. Then Beast is going through into Sector 2. Then for the final time, then here in Singapore for silver. And my goodness me, then it's after my first commentating after the break weeks, and I can't do it. So I will give up then. I think I'll just get to the end of the season then and stop there. But fantastic stuff indeed then from Beast so far then in this Grand Prix. Then he has done a brilliant job then in this race. Then he had some pressure then. He was under pressure, I should say, then from the likes of as Irvine's got himself past up into a P7 there. But he did have some pressure then from the likes of Plotters then in the first stint then, and from Jay Hings then after the safety cars then. But he's managed to fight them off then, not physically then, but just mentally then, and of course with his speed and performance then as we go through Sector 3. Astrodron has passed Mr. Elite then. That is bad news for Mr. Elite then, because he's now down to P9. But nonetheless then we go through the final few corners then for Beast then, who's going to come across the line very shortly then to win the Singapore Grand Prix. Then there is the Beast, then there is the Mercedes then crossing the line for the final lap then, and he takes the victory here in Singapore. Brilliant stuff indeed then from Ultimate Beast then. A fantastic race win then from pole position then to the checkered flag then for the Mercedes driver then. He claims the victory here for the Singapore Grand Prix. Kamara Racer then, a fantastic Grand Prix from him as well then. P2 then from P5 then on the grid. A brilliant race then, a very calm and collected then from Kamara Racer as well then to get himself some big points here tonight then for the Williams team then, and brilliant result then for Williams as well then. Aston Martin then P3 and P4 then, brilliant from Jay Hings then, podium for Jay Hings as well here. Fantastic stuff indeed then after a brilliant performance then from Jay Hings, and another podium then to his under his belt, I should say, then for the Aston Martin team as well then. P4 for Gordo, brilliant stuff indeed then. R2 beat P5 and his teammate Vessi P6, so a good result from Ferrari as well there. Irvine P7 then, Astrodron P8 then, Mr. Elite P9 then, 2 points for Mr. Elite as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Reflection rounds off the top 10. Casey Dennett then P11 then, Kydell P12 then, Kiki finishes in P13. Far across the line P14. Unfortunately for Mags, a pit and quit for him then. Sweet MP retired on the track then on purpose, and he just gave up then and retired through the menus. Then Tory then pit and quit as well. Then Nigel, I think, pit and quit as well. Goodness me. No, he didn't. He crashed then at turn 4. Vanquish then as well had a problem then as well. And Plotters then was disqualified from this race, and after some connection issues then meant that his car passed the safety car, which is illegal. So there we go then. That is a Singapore Grand Prix for your delight then, and get your votes in quickly for the last drivers. Oh, sorry, your votes for driver of the day, I should say. Then, goodness me. But nice job, Ultimate Beast, says Kian. Then I will race tomorrow. Holiday is finished, and happy ending for the Beast, then, says Kian. Fantastic stuff indeed. There is the podium celebrations here in Singapore. The Mercedes then of Ultimate Beast then on the top step. Then the Williams of Kamara Racer then P2, and the Aston Martin of Jay Hings in P3. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Well, that rounds off a fantastic Singapore Grand Prix. We're on to the US of A next week, which will be hopefully a much easier race. We'll have to wait and see. But we will find out then how that unfolds then in a week's time for silver. Then round 19 of the season. Then there is the classification then of the results of this Grand Prix. Then Beast then wins the Grand Prix. Then Kamara Racer P2, Jay Hings P3, Gordo in P4, R2 beat P5, Vessia P6, Irvine in P7, Astrodron P8, Mr. Elite P9, and Reflection rounds off the top 10. Casey Dennett, Kydell, Kiki, and Farth then are the finishers outside the top 10, and that is that then. Pretty much everyone else decided to give up or DNF'd. So there you go. Farth gets the fastest lap of the race as well. Brilliant stuff indeed. Right then, we will get ourselves cracking on then with the interviews then for this fantastic podium. I think, hang on one second whilst I try and get myself sorted. My voice is about to die as well, but there we go. Right then, yeah, we are. Here we go. Right then, hopefully we can get ourselves the interview with the race leaders to start with. Then Beast. Well, after that start to the Grand Prix, it was pretty comfortable then after the safety car.
Well, yeah, that start of the first stint was a bit crazy. I mean, Plotters was all over the place. I don't know if it was on his screen as well, because with the lag, but I was telling Kiki he's going to bin it in the next 5 laps, and then what did he do? He binned it. But other than that, yeah, very smooth race.
And like I said, adding to your championship haul, or your title haul, I think I'm going to have to do the maths very soon. You're going to have to make me do my maths early, but I'm going to have to calculate then when you can win the championship. Then I don't know if you've done it yourself already. Then, but
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if
I need
USA is going to be on the cards, or is it? Or is it?
I need 6 points next week.
Well, okay then, good stuff indeed. Then, right. Well, yes, it's going to be. Well, I'm going to have to start doing some graphics then quickly. Well, you're going to make me hurry up now. But yes, fantastic stuff indeed. Then, of course, Beast then is going to be charging away then to the title. It looks like then we've still what's going to be 4 races to go after USA next week. So yeah, you're going to have a bit of a sabbatical then after that to the new season. But no, looking very strong here tonight as well. Then pole position. Then let's talk about that. Then you got yourself a fantastic quali lap. Then by at the time of it was about 7/10 faster than anybody else, and you retired in the pit lane. Then was that just to save tyres then, or also get the? Well, you were confident that you were going to get yourself pole position.
Well, it was down to Kiki, to be fair. I was going to do another lap around 5 minutes time before the end, but Kiki said, he said I was like 5 tenths up still. I was like, I'll just retire then. Yeah, great pace in qualifying. Not so much in the race. I was very slidey. I don't know if you saw, but I don't know. The grip just wasn't there. I don't know, for some reason.
To be fair, I think everyone was slidey, so I couldn't tell the difference. But
Fair enough.
No, it was all good in the end. But another fantastic win then for Beast. Then hopefully we'll see him back on the podium, potentially crowned a champion then next week as well in USA. Then we'll wait and see with bated breath on that one. But well done to Beast here tonight, then winning the Singapore Grand Prix, then to put yourself in title charge, I should say. And well done indeed. Then we'll come to Kamara Racer then, I think, who hasn't joined us, so that's good stuff. And he will come to Jay Hings next, who is P3 tonight. Jay Hings, much better race than last night then for gold.
Yeah, I think last night in gold I did have good race pace, but unfortunately got damaged early on in the second stint, so weren't really able to kind of show what I had. Whereas today I definitely could show what I had, especially in the DRS of the two ahead of me kind of carrying me along, which definitely helped. But I think even outside of that, when I had clean air, I did show some good pace.
And like I said, in the final stint, you were in control then with Kamara Racer. Then unfortunately, Beast has already disappeared off in the distance by a few seconds. But you were just were you working together with Kamara and trying to hold on to that podium place, then knowing that it was going to be a podium on the cards for both of you then in that situation, then, or were you trying to get yourself past him for P2?
I think if I could have had the opportunity to go for a move, I would have. But I think I was struggling sector 3 mostly with the curbs. Sometimes just knew about. That was my biggest issue. But I think everywhere else I was strong, so I was just trying to stay with him. And then obviously I could see the gap behind us growing a lot. But unfortunately, I could have had a go in the last few laps if I was still with him, but unfortunately I lost the DRS.
But it's still a fantastic podium for yourself then, and for Aston Martin as well then. I think this is your second podium of the season. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember these stats. But nonetheless, good to have you with us. But are you looking for more podiums then to finish off the season then with now 6 races to go here?
Yeah, I think it's difficult though. I think a few key people who normally are on the podiums, like Kiki, for example, would kind of having a bit of a difficult race. I think I think I can comfortably change for like top 5, but I think I'd have to have a few people have difficult races like today to get on the podium again.
Well, we'll see what we can manufacture then in USA then to get yourself back on the podium then. But nonetheless, a fantastic result here tonight then here in Singapore for Jay Hings then in the Aston Martin P3 tonight then. Unfortunately for Kamara Racer, he hasn't joined us. So, but P2 for him tonight then in the Williams then. And of course, Beast then our race winner then in the Mercedes. That rounds off silver in Singapore. Then of course we'll be here for bronze tomorrow night then as well. Then taking us through the action then is Sean from 7:30 PM then. So stay tuned to ALR. There is plenty more action coming up then. We're back 400% then here in the US of A next on Wednesday, that is, before we preview the USA Grand Prix, then heading into gold, silver and bronze then from Sunday then. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you very soon.